Okay, so chapter 2, this is part 4. I hope to complete this part of my life. The problem is when you recall certain things, then you start to recall other things. So this part 4 will actually look at holidays and also a little bit about play and also a few other events. So to holidays. My father had a car. I remember he bought this car, an Austin 1100. It was the pride of place in our family at the time, and he was very committed to having family holidays. He did have time off work. He worked for the council, and when we had holidays, we went to one of two locations. We either went to South Devon, which was familiar to my grandfather. We went to a place called Sandy Bay, where we rented a caravan. Sandy Bay was near Exmouth, which was also near the city of Exeter. The beaches were lovely down there, sandy beaches. And of course, renting caravans was very cheap. And we would stay there for about a week. Remember fondly making sandcastles on the beach. The other place that we went to frequently was South Wales, the Gower coast. Now we went to South Wales because my mother's family lived there. She had a brother, and her father, mother and father also lived there, and so we went to see them, and we also had holidays on the Gower coast. This was a beautiful stretch of coastline with many fantastic beaches. I remember Rossilly Beach, which went on for miles, and it was just all sand, and no one was there. That was not too far from Swansea, and we went to Oxwich, which is another resort near Rossilly. The other reason why we were down there was, as I said, because of family. My three cousins lived there. Helen, who was the same age as me, Alan, a few years older, and Sylvia was about the same age as my sister. So the two families worked well together. My uncle John worked down the pit, and as his father did. I do recall another rather depressing event in childhood when we went to my grandfather's funeral. Now, it was customary in Wales that funerals at the grave site were only attended by the males. The females remained at the family home. But it was traditional that the dead person was laid out in a coffin in the back room, and all family members had to view this. Now, I told my father that I didn't want to see my grandfather in a coffin, and got very upset about it. And I do remember that he had words with the family about this and insisted that I would not be viewing the dead person, and it caused quite a lot of fuss. But that was my father. He was so protective of me, and I thank him graciously for that. Another little event to recall, playing in the woods near our house was a very fruitful event. And the woods were just a stone's throw from my house, and we used to play this game called British Bulldog. This involved placing a can and having a stick on a piece of ground, open ground, and one person would be there and the others would run off whilst that person was counting to 100. They would run off and hide, and then after the person reached 100, he or she would then try and find the other people hidden in the woods. And if he spotted somebody, he would then rush back to the tin and pick up the stick and hit it and shout 1, 2, 3 British Bulldog. Now the person who was hidden, their job was to try to get to the tin before this person. If they got there before and hit the tin, then they would replace them. Great fun. Okay, so I think the last thing I want to tell you, my father, he was a great educator, and one game that we played frequently, which I now use when I'm teaching English, is a game that involved cards. I collected flags of the world when I bought bubble gum, and I had a lot of cards, and my father used to test me on the information on the cards, which included the capital cities of the countries. And we used to play this game where he would ask the questions and I would give the answers. To this day, I can still recall the capitals of all the countries of the world. Amazing. After 50 years. So the message to you is, play games to learn language.